God didn't make that young kid go shoot up that school.
People are automatically going to point the finger at God because it's like, you let this happen. It's uncomfortable to sit with the idea that Martin Luther King was assassinated. All these different things happen to these people, and we can all sit here and say, oh man, that was a good person, but something bad happened. Why? What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. I am so glad that everybody is here with us. First off, if you are on the YouTube channel and you have not subscribed yet, because I know a lot of y'all watching these episodes, but you ain't subscribed. You just coming back and you just looking for it and you're watching it, but you aren't subscribed yet. I need you to go ahead and subscribe. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, today we're talking about a subject that has perplexed the community for centuries, and I feel like there's a few things that kind of nip it in the bud, but I want to really draw this conversation out to really look at it from all angles so that we all have a full understanding of this particular thing, and it's why bad things happen to good people. This particular question has made so many people lose the faith. This particular question has made people turn away from God completely. This particular question has crushed people's spirit. This particular question has made so many things happen on this earth because, one, I believe it's because of a lack of understanding of the actual answer of it. And there's been a whole lot of he say, she say about what it could possibly be. And a whole lot of people pointing fingers at this person, that person, the earth, the climate, God, and they not actually doing the research, not actually studying, or not really just sitting with their self and their heart and the Holy Spirit to actually discern what the real answer could be.
It is a question that you get, especially as a minister. I hear, hey, look, I did all these things right. Why did God do this to me? Or why did God take this individual away? They were doing so much in the community, so young. And I look, I've had those questions myself about, different, like my nephew when he passed and some other things that happened, and even with myself. And the one thing, and I can't remember how the verse go, but it talks about how, it rains on the just and the unjust. And I think if we take a small view of things and say, hey, something bad happened to this person and they good, why? I think it's kind of, I won't say arrogant, but I think it's like one of those deals like that makes us come across like we so good that nothing bad should happen to us and God will reward us for that. And what we consider bad might not necessarily be bad. You know what I mean, in the end. So we're doing an evaluation based on limited amount of information. And I use this as an example, like, hey, when I was in school, look, I wasn't going to class. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. So guess what? My grades showed it. I got back in.
But Rodney, he helped out the kids. He helped the old lady across the street. I thought he should automatically get good grades.
And there lies the problem. When you think you should get something, then and something happens to you, like, I don't think I deserve it. So I think it starts with the fact that we don't think we deserve certain things that happen to us. We got to be careful with that. I'm going to stop right there because I can keep on going on. I want Mike to get in here too. But
I think those are great points. The phrase that I was thinking about when I heard the topic was, God works in mysterious ways. What seemed mysterious to our human mindset, because like you were saying, Rodney, we gotta really level set, our significance in this world. Like we kind of like this little, like a little speck in the amount of people in the world and just time. So I have two things that I really want to speak on. But I want to lead with, like you said, a lot of times what could seem like bad just may be beyond our understanding in this moment. I've had moments where it was very uncomfortable in that particular moment, but then later I can look back and say, you know what? I'm glad I went through that because, I gained XYZ from that situation that I couldn't have been taught. You know, sometimes like the old heads used to say, you got to bump your head sometimes. You know, life is the best teacher. It's gonna spank you like your parent could never, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is people gotta travel, man. When I say travel, I mean like outside of the US, outside of this country. Like you really need to go. You know, I love traveling. I've been to multiple islands, countries. And when you go to like different areas, like when I go to a different country, I don't like to just go to the tourist spot. Like I want to go inland. I want to go where the native people are, you know, and when you see how some people are living in these third world countries, man, like in today, 2023, we're not talking about 100 years ago. I'm talking about today, like no inside running water, no interior bathroom. They got to go, you know, outside to just run water, man, take a shower. It's just very humbling. It's very humbling. And it'll make you think like, man, what was I complaining about? You know, another thing is, um, think about what our ancestors been through. You know, like I'm an avid reader and studier of Frederick Douglass. He's one of my favorite people in the world. Everybody should go do some research on this man. He had an amazing life, amazing life. And then recently, Rodney and I, we've been watching the series, The Bass Reeves, The Lawman, and that was kind of another level set, just looking at the things that our ancestors had to go through to put us in position to have these first world problems, man, because a lot of the problems that people complain about is not even really a big situation, man. We just, you know, spoiled as a people.
You can't see the full picture. There's just no possible way you can know everybody that's going to be affected. There's no possible way you're going to know what's going to happen after. There's no possible way that you can know for certain what happened in that other person's past. You just don't know. And so it's like to go ahead and label something as, oh, this is bad. This is a bad situation for everybody. You really don't know what's going to happen from it. You really don't know what part it's going to play in the bigger picture. And so there could be a lot of good that comes from the thing, but we just don't see that. And then also too, being able to just have that humility and be like, you know what, hey, we're having that awareness and then that humility that comes from it, and seeing that, you know what, my situation, it ain't the worst. It most likely ain't the worst, and it probably won't ever be the worst, because there's a lot of people who have gone through a lot of things that probably are worse than what I've gone through, and there's probably people who are going through exactly what I've gone through and still made it out. So you know what? Let me just go ahead and put on my stuff and get to it. You know what I mean? And so it's like we go back to the question: why do bad things happen to good people? I think we have to I think we have to really, I think there's a problem with the question, because Jesus is good. Hey, no, none of us actually qualify for the actual title of good, like of good. Because we might see someone like, oh, Martin Luther King, he was such a good man. How could he possibly be assassinated? Right? That's so terrible. Mother Teresa. We can talk about Gandhi. We can talk about all these people, these big public figures who have done great things for society, right? But you know, they could have ended with an assassination. They could have ended with a sickness. They could have ended in a. I mean, Dr. Miles Monroe, a plane crashed. What? A plane crash? All these different things happen to these people, and we can all sit here and say, oh man, that was a good person, but something bad happened. Why? Like something must be wrong. The issue that comes is when we start to, first off, have that question in our mind, thinking that, you know, this person was good and this bad thing happened to them, and we can't see the full picture, to Rodney's point. But then also too, when these things kind of happen and we start to make that label, one thing that I've seen is that people start to try to shift the blame, because it's uncomfortable to sit with it. It's uncomfortable to sit with the idea that Martin Luther King was assassinated. Somebody is at fault. And it's like, look, we're going to a higher power here, because I have to be able to blame, because the people were wrong in the beginning. So now people are automatically going to point the finger at God, because it's like, you let this happen. And that's the point that I want to talk about a little bit, because that point of you let this happen, I think that's where most people kind of lose the faith. When they have the question of why bad things happen to good people, and then they say God is the problem because he let this happen, that's when they're like, well, he didn't care about my little cousin who got killed, so he don't care about nobody. And then they continue to move away.
You framed it well. I love the fact that you're going there, because that's exactly what happens. I think if we're honest, is that as soon as we make that statement, you're absolutely right. You saying, God, you made a mistake. You shouldn't have done it. I mean, pretty much what you're saying. You're saying, hey, God, you made a mistake. And I'm going to go back to myself. When I lost my nephew a few years ago, he was a young man. He was like 42 years old. And, he, when he died, I was like, Lord, why? I was upset. I was mad at God. I'm like, man, Lord, how you going to take him so young, And the thing is that God told me, His Spirit spoke to me clear as day, like it was his time. And that humbled me, because it's like, okay, well, who am I to tell God when somebody shouldn't go see him? Who am I to even question God as it relates to these things? And then the other side of this, Martell, that you touch on too. So once you get past that and you realize we ain't got no business telling God he made a mistake, then we got to be accountable and just understand the human heart that, we have a sinful heart. So guess what? If you haven't accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you don't even realize you got a sinful heart. You just doing whatever you're doing. So you got people out here wilding out that don't know God, and you got an evil world. And sadly, people around evil people or evil situations are going to get caught up, whether it be, and a lot of times you think about gunfire and stray bullets, but you also think about it in life. If you're around people with bad character, or you're around people that's doing shady things or whatever, and you could be the best person in the world, you could potentially get caught up in what they're doing and pay a price.
Going back to that statement, like, God works in mysterious ways. And it's always interesting to me, like when people, when we lose loved ones, because the thing is, that's a fact of life. Like, we know our time on this earth has a finite time period. We know we're going to lose. And it still hurts though. Like nobody can avoid, the pain of losing a loved one. But the thing that I was always interested from a young kid, I'm like, you know what? The pastor is preaching. Our job is to live a way on this earth so that one day we get to go to the kingdom of heaven, right? And be with God. When we lose our physical form, our spirit goes to heaven. And it was always interesting to me that how, some, I guess, we'll say like church folk or whatever, they seem to almost be like contradicting the message, where it's like, well, you say that person with God, like, why are we, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was very confusing to me when I was young, but I understand though. Now I'm starting to understand, like, even though you know what you should know, it still hurts, and you still have to grieve that loss. Another thing is, if we're being honest, man, there are some bad things that just happen to good people. Like, they didn't deserve it. Like, how else could you explain like babies getting shot in the head or something? Just madness, man, just insane insanity. And the only way that I kind of, make my peace with it is that, well, two things. Anything that happens, either God willed it or God allowed it to happen. Okay. And we don't understand why, because we just said, we can't think like in a godlike state. If God allows something to happen, we also have to understand people have free will. God didn't make that young kid go shoot up that school. You know what I'm saying? Like that God, it's nothing about that is godly. It's just people have free will. And as we have the Holy Spirit that works through people, you have evil spirits that work through people. And that's why, people that are trying to work towards being closer to God every single day, we have to be more confident in our moves. We have to bring more people on the kingdom side. We can't do it just, in my opinion, we can't just do it with just us, because we have to constantly recruit other people to come on the kingdom side that may not know that part, because we need more soldiers of God to fight this fight. Because it is a fight. Like I tell my kids, like, we're warriors. We were bred to be warriors of God. We're soldiers of God. We're not using it to just harm people, but we're protectors. That's in our bloodline. That's what we were bred to do, because God needs soldiers just like any other army.
This is such a big topic, but I want to go here real fast. Ecclesiastes 9:11 says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to a man of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. What this, and so of course, this is in Ecclesiastes. This was written by King Solomon, who had done it all, seen it all, got it all, lost it all. He had it like that was the story of his life. And so this man, he had gone to so many places, seen so many things, and he had come to the conclusion that, look, you ain't manufacturing nothing. Like for real, there is so many things that just happen because they're just going to happen that you don't have control over. It's not even worth it's not even worth you putting your energy and your emotions into the control that you don't have, because you're chasing after the wind. And so it's like that part of the verse where he says, time and chance happen to them all. It stuck out to me so clear, because if you think about it, you're like, okay, the strongest, right? The battle must be to the strongest. But he says, not always the case. Okay, the fastest, right? In a race, you're expecting the fastest person to win. That's not always the case. And so going back to this particular conversation, we got the good, like, oh, well, this person is good, so good things should always happen to this person. Time and chance happen to them all. And that's just a fact of life. And so it's like, for me, to Mike's point, he was like, when he was talking about how, we have this time period on this planet, and it's not long. Like in the scale of eternity, this is less than a speck. Like this is a blip on the radar. And so for me, purpose has to be the priority to be effective during my time here. Because if purpose is my priority, then no matter what happens, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do while I'm here, no matter how long or short that time might be. And then I also, with the understanding that God is the one who sets the priority, God is the one who made the purpose, I can't sit here and try to manufacture a conclusion about what happened to somebody else and label it as good or bad, because I am not the creator of that person, and I am not the writer of this story.
That's one thing I try to keep close to my heart. The way I live is not about how many years I'm on this earth, because I don't know how many years I have. You don't know how many years you have. Like we don't know. But what we do know is we have a finite time period on this earth. So to me, it's about how many people can I positively impact. That's why, every day I'm thinking of different ideas. Like I call Rodney randomly, like, hey man, something else we could do with the mentorship, or we'd be kind of spitballing. Because my thing is, if I can help spark other dreams and other people, help them reach their dreams, that's going to play a part. That's the reason. That's a part of my bigger purpose. Like I know that, they say you have two major birthdays in your life: the day that you were physically born, and then the day that you find out why you were born. And for me, a few years back, like that was just, I've been doing that my whole life, but it's been like very, very clear, very evident. Like, look, my purpose is to pour into other people. Like I love doing, I genuinely love doing, I love, having a conversation and interaction with somebody, and they leave feeling more confident than they did when they began that conversation. And so when you go back to that purpose piece, man, it really has to be a stark reminder and a call of action to live every single day to the fullest, man. And it's so cliche, like you don't know if you're gonna wake up or thank God you woke up today, man. But it's a real deal where um nobody, a lot of people, you don't really know your death day, man. You got plans next week, you got plans next month, next year, and it's like, listen, bro, we're being a little arrogant, assuming that that's even going to be a part of the opportunity. Like they go through those scenarios where people find out they got 6 months to live, whatever. Now all of a sudden I gotta go travel, I gotta go do it, and it's like, man, why weren't you doing that? I never understood that. Like, why does it something catastrophic have to happen for people to have that like jolt and just say, I gotta start living, And so I try to, everything starts with self. So I try to keep that close to my heart daily. I pray about it. I pray with my family, and then just pass it on to other people. Like, hey, man, let's get it today. Like, we've had these talks in our tools that call. Look, today we got to get it. We got to win today. It's not about, if we win today, tomorrow that gives us a chance to wake up with the same mentality and win that day. And soon we got a week. We keep it going. Now we have a month. And that's when you build momentum and you actually have that compound interest where you could take over some things.
Sometimes people aren't moving towards their purpose, okay? And when I'm sitting here thinking, if you're not going towards the purpose that God made you for, you're going to miss out on a lot of what life has to offer, right? So I'm going down this road to say this is that a lot of times we leave stuff on the shelf, meaning that we leave what we deem as good things, good opportunities, because we're not pursuing them. We're not pursuing our purpose, And then if you're not getting what you've been designed for, sometimes you get stuff that you don't want. You know what I mean? You can get put in bad situations. And one thing I want to throw out too, one thing that can define good and bad clearly is the Bible. So we do have a book. We do have a God gives us direction on what's bad. Sin is bad. Let's just be clear. That's bad. Serving God, being obedient to Him, that's good. So we do get a baseline to go off of when it comes to that. And I just threw that out there because I wanted to make sure, because if we were talking, we weren't really, I want to make sure we define that, hey, the Bible, God tells us what's good.
The Bible is the truth. And one thing that I always say is that the Bible is God literally speaking to me. And I act like it is that. Like when I pray, I literally go into the Bible and say, all right, God, what you got for me today? Like literally, what do you have for me today? And then I take it like a personal word from God. And so going to the word, we go back to the point that was made earlier. And I believe, Mike, you were the one who brought it up, talking about people. And Rodney, actually, you continued it as well. People do things to people. And we kind of like pass over that, skip that, forget about that. But it's like people do things to people. And so like we want to move the blame past the actual person who did the wrong and blame some sort of, we want to blame a higher power or the universe for it. But also too, I mean, they had the will to do it. Genesis 3, it pretty much outlines exactly what was about to happen moving forward. So there was two characters, for those that don't know. There was an Adam and there was an Eve, okay? And they was in a garden. And the serpent came up and said, hey, yo, look, I know you got all these trees out here, but did you try that one? It got some fruit on it, and it might be good. And the lady, Eve, she was like, oh, for real? Word? Is it for real? And he was like, look, it's nice, ain't it? She was like, you know what? It is nice. It is nice. Let me try that. And Adam was actually right there with her. And so she did eat from the tree, and then he ate from the tree. But the problem was this particular tree was one that God had told Adam, hey, look, you can eat from all of these other trees in the garden, but that one right there, don't eat from it. And then the serpent was like, well, you know what? It's going to make you wise. It's going to make you just like God. You'll be able to see good. You'll be able to know good and evil. And so when they ate from this tree, they began to become like gods. That's what the word literally says. And the thing is, they could now discern, they could see, oh, this is wrong, this is right. The problem was we still had free will the whole time. And so when we talk about, why bad things happen to good people, from that point in time, the ground was cursed. Women was going to have difficulty in labor. And then the dude, you were going to have to work for everything that you ate, period, from that point in time forward. And sin was introduced into the land because we no longer had the authority of it. We gave that over to the serpent. We gave that over to somebody else. And so the thing is, from that point forward, the first two kids, one killed the other one. And there was all kinds of things that continued to happen. Kings rose up and enslaved other people. Arrogance was brought into the world. Pride was brought into the world. All kinds of different evil was brought into the world. And then we kind of try to bypass that and oh, why did God let this happen? No. He said from the beginning, he said, you were created to have dominance over this territory that I gave to you. You gave your authority to something else, and that something else now has it. So and you still have the free will. You still are like gods in this territory. But the thing is, you don't have the authority that you once had because you gave it over to somebody else. And so fast forward, just to make it a little bit more contextual to the people living in the 2023s and 2024s of the world. Thing is, when you talk about a dictator who comes and sends bombs over to another area to people who look like they're innocent, we don't know, but to people who seem like they're innocent, now we're like, okay, this person is terrible. Why did God let this happen? But the thing is, God let you have the same opportunity that they have. They decided that that's what they were going to do with their time. That's what they were going to do with their free will. And so, I mean, we can't account for everybody, every human being on the planet, about what they're going to do and what they can't do because we can't control it. But you do have control over what you do. And the thing is, it's not about how much you can control of anybody else, because you will never have that kind of authority. And so bad things happen to good people because people do bad things.
Free will, 100%. That's the main thing we have to keep close. Like, a lot of times it's not a process problem, it's a people problem. People, you can give somebody a play-by-play process on what we're supposed to do, like the Bible, and then people are going to still do what they choose to do. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to speak on, because you were saying hey, we have, this Bible, we have this instruction manual, this, that, and the third. And I was thinking as you were talking, I wanted to kind of speak to the people that are still learning how to read the Bible, because I'm, admittedly, I'm still going down that path myself. And one thing that has been very a critical addition of my life is the Life Application Bible. And that was something that Pastor Rod, he gifted to me when I expressed that I was having some challenges understanding these stories, and how they're applicable to my life today, because I didn't grow up in that traditional, church environment, and I just didn't understand. Just being honest, I'm living in this world. I got these people around me, and it was just a disconnect between how do I apply this concept to my everyday circumstance. So I want to say, number one, for anybody that's going through a similar time period, Life Applications Bible, I have no type of monetary gain for promoting it, but it's just been very helpful in my walk. But two, get around godly people that understand and have a way of helping you to understand. I go back to Pastor Rodney again. He's been able to explain things to me in a way that I could digest it, where I wasn't getting it from, the churches that I have been to. It was just different because I'm more of that. I like having that personal relationship with somebody where I could really have a conversation, and God will bring these people into your life if you are seeking that. I've been knowing Rodney since 2011, but we were co-workers. We knew each other just in the workspace. Of course, he was higher, above in his capacity at that time. But later it evolved into us having like life conversations. And the reason why I just felt like it was important for somebody listening, man, you have to seek counsel. You got to pray about it. Like, God, bring these people into my life so that I can help clarify and understand some of these thoughts and things that I want to make sense of, but for some reason I'm struggling, because of whatever, maybe I didn't have the teachings, maybe I just not comprehending well enough, whatever the case may be, but pray about it and then recognize when these people are coming. You have to be open too. You got to be open to receiving information. You got to be humble. Understand, like, all right, I'm a student. I gotta be able to sponge this information.
In everything you said, one of the things you talked about, you kind of hit on it, and we kind of played around with it a little bit while we've been talking today, is who we put around us is important. So if we seeking, God, we need to put godly people around us. And if we put godly people around us and we see God gonna put things in our lives. He's gonna bless our lives. Even when these called bad things happen to us, we're gonna see them in a different light. Because I love the scripture Romans 8:28. All things work for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. So if you love the Lord, you called according to His purpose. Even when something looks bad, if you're doing what He called you to do, it's gonna work out for your good. It might not look and taste like what the world call good, but it's gonna work out for your good. Whether it's building you up to do something else, whether it's blessing you in another way. So, I think it's important to have first God in your life and bring the right people in your life.
I think a good way to bypass the concern for yourself if, a bad thing is happening to a good person is to just have faith. Mm-hmm. To just have faith. Like on that scripture that Rodney just said, it's like sometimes it doesn't look like the things are all working out for your good. I mean, shoot, I was sick the other day and things look bad. Things look bad. Like and it was really tough, but it's like, and then I've gone through a whole bunch of different stuff. I've had to do a lot, but the thing is, it's like I always keep the faith, so I don't really sit and try to label anything as, oh man, this is obviously God done dropped the ball on this one because this ain't going good. No. Because I'm like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen next week. But at some point, I might be in this fight, but I know I'm going to win it.
What's like one thing that you would want, your people to take away, just one main piece of advice as far as how to deal with bad things, appearing to happen to good people?
It might look like it's bad, but it's gonna work out for you. That faith piece. Where do we place our faith? Putting faith in God is gonna allow us to get through any and every situation.
Purpose, like I said before, has to be the priority, because if it's not, then you actually give yourself the opportunity to start labeling things good or bad. This person was good. This bad thing happened. This, that. Or maybe the time was too short. Or maybe, this person lived for X amount of time and they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Or this person was rich and they've been evil. Or this person is poor and they, are super helpful and generous to everybody. Purpose is the priority. What are you doing today? What did God put you on this earth to do? And I feel like as long as you keep that in line, then you'll make the days worth it.
And my one takeaway is just like walk by faith, not by sight. Because God is doing what He's supposed to do, even when it doesn't look or appear like it's being done to us. And we have to have faith that our purpose in life can still be fulfilled regardless of what's going on around us or what happens. We got to keep pressing on, man. And like you were saying, Rodney, we got to surround ourselves with like-minded people that are going to try to help encourage and lift us up when we do have these moments. Because the reality is everybody has moments when you do question God and you say, man, I can't make sense of this. You know, this is too devastating. It's too catastrophic. I can't understand it. And that's when you got to have a tribe where you can go to, and they got to pour back into you. When your cup is empty, you got to have people that are going to pour back into you with the right type of thoughts and energy.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. We want to talk about Man 2.0 a little bit too. Second Saturday, invite any brothers out. Come on out, join us at Ferndale and Cabizos, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Man, getting together, understanding what God designed us to do. We also just want to make sure that you tune in. And Martell, tell them what they can do next to make sure they stay up on what we're doing here today for tomorrow.
You can go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already. We definitely appreciate it. Share it with somebody else. And hey, if you like this episode, then I know you're going to love the one on your screen. We'll see y'all there.
Peace.
Peace.